Okay, so to make our butterfly, you first are going to get to the stitch count that the pattern tells you. So this is one of the first of the group of 3s that I'm doing here. So it's chain 3 and then double crochet 7. So the instructions tell you to make the butterfly stitch in the next and previous post or DC post of the row below. So that means we're going to work around these 2 posts to make the actual butterfly. So when you're looking at your stitches, just look at the post that you just made, look straight down, and that's going to be one of your posts, but we're going to start in the one next to it. So you can also turn your work and look for the V and go straight down to that post. We're going to be working around that one, and then we're going to turn and work into that one. So you'll see how that goes right now. So the first thing we're going to do is chain 2, and that's going to get us down to this post so that we can slip stitch into it. So slip stitching is our next instruction. So to go around this post, what you're going to do is go straight down to that space that is right below the post that we just made. We're going to go through that space, and then we're going to pop out the other side of this post. So we're just going to go front to back, straight in, and then right out the next side. Then we're going to yarn over, pull up the loop, and then slip stitch that stitch that's on the hook. And every slip stitch that I do for my butterfly, I'm going to tighten it down. So I'm tightening down the stitch, but what I'm going to do before I start my double crochet, which is next, is I'm going to pull up a little bit on the actual loop on my hook. That's going to give me a little bit more height when I start doing this double crochet. So it's going to be a little squashed down. It's not going to be like the height of a normal double crochet, but that's going to give us our rounded look of the butterfly. So now we're going to do a double crochet around the post. So I yarn over, I'm going back around, and what you can do to make this a little bit easier to work into is turn your work sideways, because we're working around only this post right now. So just like if you're working crochet, you're going this way. So turning your work so that your post is kind of sitting on top of your work will make it a little easier to work into. So now I'm going to go back around that post. If you need to pull it apart, look for the front and back, but it's pretty easy to get under once you start that first stitch. So pull up your loop. Now we're going to do a double crochet. So pull through the first 2 and pull through the second 2. Now we're going to do a treble crochet. So we're going to yarn over twice, as we always do for a treble. Go back under, and you can see now it's kind of lifting up higher, so it's easier to see. We're going to catch that, and then we're going to work off 2 at a time for treble. Finish that. Now we're going to double crochet again. So again, we go back into that nice big hole we have and do double. So that's the first part of our wing. Next stitch is slip stitch again. So this time we're going to tighten it down again. So we're going to pull on the tail, and then we're going to pull up our chain or the loop on our hook a little bit higher again, because we're going to repeat what we just did. We're going to do a double crochet all around this post again. We're going to do a treble. And then we're going to do one more double. And you'll see it wants to go over the stitch. To get the stitches nice and neat on this post, make sure that your tail is coming to the side of the stitch, so it's right on top of the post instead of on top of the previous stitch. So that way they all lay, I knew I grabbed something there, let me redo that one, so that they all lay nice on the post. So bring it around the side instead of laying it right on top of the stitch. Now we're going to do one more slip stitch to bring this back down and get over to our next side. So slip stitch, pull that down. Now it says to work into the previous post by turning your work 180 degrees. So we have it the one side of the wing facing up. Now we're just going to turn our work all the way around so that the wing is now on the bottom. And now the previous post, remember if we turn it this way, we have that post. Here's the previous post. That's what we're going to work around for the other side of the wing. So again, we're going to start off with a slip stitch. So just like before, we go front to back under the post and back outside the post. Yarn over, pull through, tighten that down, pull it up a little bit to get some room, and then double crochet. So again, you can turn it sideways like we had the last wing so that it's a little bit easier to work. You'll notice these kind of get stuck together as you're working, so just make sure you're only pulling through that first two. Sometimes that happens with how close these are. It also depends on the yarn that you use. So we're doing the same thing. We're doing a double, a treble, and a double. And then we're going to slip stitch again. Tighten that down so we get nice divots in our wings. Then pull up your loop, and then double again. Oops, yeah, I pulled through all three that time. Then we're going to treble again. And when you're pulling this through, you kind of got to bring the wing to the front, because if you just start pulling through, you get caught on this stuff over here, because usually it's out of the way because you're at the top of your stitch, so you don't have anything to grab onto. So if you're grabbing stuff from the previous row, because see, if I just start pulling, I'm going to get stuck. So just kind of either push that out of the way as you make your stitch, or bring your stitch in front of all of that. Double, and then we're going to slip stitch again. Okay, and then the most important part, so we don't lose a stitch, is to make a double crochet in the post that we started the butterfly with. So now I'm going to turn my work back so that we're on the row. Move that out of the way. So now we have our butterfly. We're going to chain two so we can get back up to the height of the double crochet. So they're kind of like little antennae is what you can say they look like if they're sticking out a lot. It's kind of what I thought them to be, or like little antennae. So then we need to do our double crochet. The only problem is it's really difficult to see because we have the post and then the actual chain has gotten real squished. So you can see it looks much smaller than the rest of our stitches here, but we have to go into that stitch. And if you pull on it, you'll see that there is still 3 loops. There's our V on top, and then the loop that's right below. I'm trying to get like a white background here so you can see the hole. There you go. You can kind of see the hole there. So we need to put our hook between this little tiny hole right there. So this is going to be the hardest one to do, but we have to do it, otherwise we're going to lose a stitch. So we're going to double crochet in there, and then we're going to double crochet in every stitch after. So just make sure that you get that weird small stitch. If you're not sure that you got it, just count your stitches at the end of the row. Make sure you have 16. I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you how we work back into this, because we have all these chains and different things. So let me show you the reverse side after you do the butterfly so you can make sure that you understand where to put your stitches. Okay, I'm on the opposite side of my work now. I just finished that butterfly, and now I need to make 16 double crochets across. So when I get to the butterfly, all you really need to do is look at your posts that are from the row below, and as long as you stick to those, you'll get the right amount of count. So as you can see, we've been working into all of these posts, and then we have one, and there's kind of like a little gap between this one and this one. Those are those chains, but we don't work into any of the chains. We're only working into the stitches that are on top of the post. So if we turn our work sideways, you'll see kind of the V, 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 V because of all of the chains. Ignore the chains. Only work into what you see that is above a post. So here is one right here, so we're going to work into that stitch. And that should be your 8th from the end stitch. And then we have one here on the other side of the butterfly. So it's going to be your 9th stitch. And that'll vary depending on where your butterfly is, but this is the middle butterfly, so they're on the 8th and 9th stitch. So then you keep on going across. So you only have 2 stitches to work into when you get to that butterfly. And then you see it just completely closes off. So double check your stitch count until you get used to that. Make sure once you finish this row that you have 16 stitches again, counting that chain 3 as one of your stitches, and then you are good to go for the next row. So when in doubt, count the stitches and then head back to that area because that's usually where you might add one or lose one. So check that out. If you've got 16, then you are good to go. So that is it for the tutorial on the butterfly. If you have any questions, leave them below, and thank you for watching.